The Meghalaya Cabinet convened today to deliberate on and approve multiple agendas. Chief Minister Conrad Sangma briefed press persons following the meeting and informed that agendas included the approval of the list of holidays for 2025, the appointment of a non-judicial member to the Meghalaya Human Rights Commission, and appointment for the post of Zilla Sainik Welfare Officer. The Cabinet also gave its nod to a proposal from the Excise Department regarding composite license for hotels and for the implementation of a QR code-based tracking system for products sold by the department. Additionally, the Cabinet discussed the proposed expansion of Shillong Airport.
So we had our Cabinet meeting today, and multiple agendas were taken up during the Cabinet meeting. I will just go through the agendas and the approvals that were given. First of all, we had cleared the list of holidays for the year 2025, and this was brought up by GAD, and there is no change in the list. It is as per the list that was there for this year, but as you're aware, as a formality for the Cabinet to clear the list for the next year also, so we have done that today. Second is after the retirement of one of the non-judicial members in the Meghalaya Human Rights Commission, we had a selection committee which is headed by Chief Minister, which had proposed the name of Shri H. Nongklu, retired IPS officer, to be the member or non-judicial in the Meghalaya Human Rights Commission. And that particular name and proposal, which was done by the selection committee, has been today approved by the Cabinet. Third was the selection of the candidate for the post of Zilla Sainik Welfare Officer Shillong. And again, a committee headed by the Chief Secretary went through a panel of names, and they have recommended the name of Lieutenant Colonel Sebastian Marbanian, and the Cabinet today has approved that particular proposal that has been given by the selection committee headed by the Chief Secretary. The fourth and the fifth agenda was to bring up certain changes in certain rules of the Excise Department. Without going into the technicalities, I will just briefly explain what these rules are. The first rule that we have changed and provisions that we have brought in is for the concept of what we call a composite license. This is being done in view of the different hotels and especially the five-star hotels that have come up and that are going to come up in the future, to give it a more structured system. Earlier, the licenses that were given to the different hotels were based on the restaurant or the bars, which means that if a particular hotel had 4 bars or 4 restaurants, then they would have to take 4 different licenses for each of these different restaurants or bars if they wanted to serve license. So the idea is to give one composite license to the entire entity so that they don't have to apply for separate licenses. And obviously the charges for these are going to be higher compared to the normal bar licenses, and that is the amendment that was proposed today by the Excise Department, and we have cleared that. And so the proposal for composite license for hotels has been cleared today by the Cabinet. Also, we have cleared the proposal by the Excise Department to have a QR code based tracking system for the different products being sold by the Excise Department, which basically in simple terms means that every bottle that is going to be sold in Meghalaya is going to have a QR code tracking QR code on it. This will help us to track the entire journey or whatever you call it of the bottle, so that we know exactly where it had, which shop it was supposed to be sold, if there is any leakage in the system. So we'll be able to track this entire system, and we are expecting that this will have anything between 5% to 10% of impact on the overall revenue, and the leakage that we are seeing in today's system will be plugged by the use of the QR code technology. And this is one thing that we have been wanting to implement in the excise department, and we are happy that today this has been cleared by and approved by the cabinet, and we'll take this forward. So that was the fifth agenda that was taken up. Apart from that, we had a detailed presentation. It was not a formal item, but it was a presentation that was given by the Transport Department, which is basically for the expansion of the Shillong airport. As you are aware that we have been facing a large number of challenges, and previous technical reports had made it quite difficult for us to actually go into the feasibility of expanding the airport. But after doing a study which was sanctioned by the state government last year to do a LIDAR survey of the entire area around the airport, about 20 square kilometers was studied, and this is of course being done with Airport Authority of India on board. We are happy to inform that we have been able to come out with few options where in the existing airport itself we should be able to extend the runway, which would make it feasible for at least the Airbus A320 and the Boeing 737. 737, is it correct?
Yes, sir.
Boeing 737, which is about 180, 170 seater aircrafts. In layman's term, basically the Indigo flights and the SpiceJet flights that we normally take. So this particular study and this particular master plan and this implementation should allow us to make the landing of these aircrafts feasible in the existing airport that we have. Of course, there are certain more clearances that are required. Further discussions have to be done with Government of India, especially with DGCA and the Civil Aviation Ministry. So we are on the job. It is still at, you can say, the process and the planning stage is still on. But the initial report that we have seen today from the Transport Department is very encouraging and very positive. And we are hopeful that we should be able to take this forward. But as I said, that I will not jump the gun right now. We will only come out with a detailed press note and all the facts once we are able to clear all the clearances and meetings with the DGCA and the Civil Aviation Ministry. But since this was in the agenda, and since we discussed this, and since it's a positive news for all of us, I thought I would share this with you, that after the meeting we had, we are quite hopeful that we should be able to extend the runway, and we're hopeful that if all the different aspects fall into place, we should be able to land the normal commercial flights, which is normally the A320 and the Boeing 737 in the existing airport. So those presentations were given to us. So those were the few discussions that took place in the cabinet. So we cannot say, as I said, because we have to talk to DGCA and we have to talk to the Civil Aviation Ministry. But the survey that was done along with the Airport Authority of India, the survey and the technical report has come out feasible. So we are on the right track. Now the process starts of actually extending the runway, certain permissions required from DGCA, certain other aspects and works that need to be done, details of which I will share in a later stage with you. But what my point being is that in the previous months and years, we were still struggling on looking at whether we'll go for a new site, whether we have to chop off the mountains, whether we have to do all of the things. So at least we are now clear that we have a very, very much reasonable and a feasible option in front of us, which is very much implementable, and we are now on track. Timing is something that really depends on so many factors, because some of the factors are beyond our control. But what I would like to share is that we are now in the right direction, and the process is on, and we are very, very hopeful that we should be able to, move the things in the right direction. But definitely, it's something that will take time because extension of the runway has to be done. I can share with you that we have to extend the runway by about 500 plus meters. So obviously that requires so many aspects to be looked into. So we'll look at all those aspects. But as I said, at least now we know where we're heading. Land acquisition, it requires a bit of construction. But definitely it's not going to be in that line where we're talking of chopping off the mountains, which is going to take 8,000 crores, which is something that was very, very difficult for us to take a decision on. We're happy that now we will not require any major destruction or cutting off mountains. Maybe a bit of cleaning up has to be done, which is bare minimum. Bit of land acquisition just to extend the runway, a bit here and there, and create some parking space for aircrafts, and obviously the implementation of the actual extension of the runway. So very, very practical, realistic and doable steps now are there. Exact cost is something which obviously I cannot say right now because we have to go into the details of it, but it's not going to be anything close to what was being thought of in the past, where we would require large amount to chop off the mountains. No, nothing like that. Very, very reasonable and doable. In any project, obviously land acquisition is something that we have to work on. But I think what is important to note is that this project is a game changer for our state. I think everyone who is part of this must realize how important this project is for Meghalaya and for tourism sector, and what potential this has to change the entire landscape of the economy and tourism sector of our state. And hence this is something that we must all work together to get through. So yes, there could be challenges. I don't know, I'm not sure yet because we have not started the process yet. But today's cabinet has given the approval to go ahead and now start the process. So let us see how things go forward. But yes, we look at cooperation from all angles. As I said, this is for the larger interest and good of the people and the state as a whole. In fact, the discussion of land acquisition for Baljik is also on. The land acquisition process, the identification by the revenue department, revenue branch of the DC office is already under process. They have done an initial report. The Airport Authority of India was not at that point satisfied with that report. So another detailed report is now being prepared. So both are going hand in hand, and we are keen that in both locations the flight should start. In fact, the work for the Baljik airport has started before. The process for this one, for the Umrah airport started, because in Umrah airport we were also looking at the option of a new location. But then that's when the government, we sat down when it said that, well, why don't we revisit this and see once more and invest a bit on technical reports, and maybe there could be an option that could come out where we may be able to actually bring in the larger aircrafts in the existing airport itself. So it was a chance we took, and we're happy that this particular step we took has given us a an option. So we were happy with this, and we are working ahead and going ahead with Baljik also. In fact, in Baljik airport also, in advanced state, all the discussions are taking place at a very, very advanced stage. So those hills were part of the initial plan. If we had not cut those, then even the flights that are landing now would not have landed. So so now when we cut those hills, it paved the way for us to bring the regional connectivity through Udan, the Q400 flights, the ATRs landing and other aircraft landing. If we had not cut those hills at that point in time, even those aircrafts would not have landed. But now we're looking at the bigger aircrafts and bigger challenge. So which means now we have to see right now. Please note, I'm not saying we have to cut any hills right now. Please, you have to quote me correctly. Right now, the way we had to do it earlier, before the Q400 and the ATRs landed, was at a larger scale. We had to clear the mountains. We were told that we'll have to clear bigger mountains for the bigger aircrafts to come in. That is not what's going to happen now, is what I'm telling you. Now we know that we only have to clean up, you can say, a bit of here and there maybe some bits sticking out here and there. It's very, very bare minimum, even lesser than what happened last 5 years back when we took the decision. We went ahead, which paved the way to bring in whatever 15,000 passengers flying every month into Shillong city today, into the airport, I'm sorry. So that was paved the way. Now what we're going to do is very bare minimum. Now our focus is on the extension of the runway, clearing up a bit of hurdles here and there in terms of mountains, no major chopping, and therefore the cost is going to be drastically very, very, very low compared to what we had expected. Yeah, so basically what happens is that we're not saying that or blaming anybody here, but obviously in a system that is so large, we need a proper monitoring mechanism. Right now today, if a particular bottle reaches somewhere, there's no way for us to track where that bottle originated, or who was the retailer who was supposed to sell that, or it was assigned to, and therefore we could not track that whether that particular material was meant to be in that particular location or not. Now with the QR code system that we're going to put in, we will be able to actually track where this bottle originated, in which particular bond, in which particular retail shop, and how it reached that particular location where it should or should not have reached. So you can imagine now that if you find a bottle that's not meant to be where it is, then or maybe being sold in the black market, or being sold at night somewhere, in something, we will be able to actually then track back and say that, well, it's this shop that was actually giving out this this particular. So that's how the system is going to work. So it's going to be, we are expecting, and we could go wrong in the terms of numbers, plus minus here and there. That's why I was very broad in terms of my numbers. I said anything between 5% to 10% of revenue is expected to be increased, and we expect that that is the kind of impact this would have. It could be even far beyond that. It could be even beyond 10%. I really don't know right now. Until we don't do this, it'll be difficult for us to. But this is the ballpark figure that has been given by the department to me, that we are looking at anything between 5% to 10% of revenue increase once we are able to implement this.